Good morning. Today we're talking about why time is the number one resource that leaders are willing to pay for. So I think I'm live. Anyway, time is the number one resource that leaders are willing to pay for. So let's think about that, right? What is the first hire? If you are a business owner, entrepreneur, what is the first person you hire? It's someone to do the work, right? So you can be the leader and you pay other people to do the day-to-day operations, right? If you are a solopreneur, you've been building your business, the first thing that you spend money on is hire a VA, right? If I hear one more time, like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy in my business, I need to hire a VA, right? That's that's really where leaders are spending their money, is to get more of their time back because they realize that they can't really serve the clients that they need to serve, right? They need more time, they need more space in their schedule in order to serve the clients that are coming in. So case in point, I was just hired on by a new client who just hired, she has a VA, she has other people on her team, but she hired me to create systems and workflows for them to get what? More of their time back. So, just putting this out there to say if you are currently a leader and you're feeling a stretch, you probably need to find what's taking up the most of your time and how you can delegate that out. I mean, a lot of times we spend money in our businesses or to hire a VA, but if you're spending more time than you want to on like personal stuff, like cleaning the house or um, cooking food or whatever, even shopping, right? There's ways that you can delegate those things. Even if you don't hire a person, you can delegate your food shopping out through Instacart, right? Instacart goes out, finds the person that will shop for you, and then you'll get your groceries, right? All of these online uh, services now are more into play, right? Or we're technically hiring Amazon to go and do the research for us. Like what is the bestseller, Amazon's choice, right? They're doing the time and the research on our behalf so that we don't have to dig through hordes of items on Amazon. It's like just tell me what to buy, boom, buy it, in, out, done, right? And so that that's just kind of what I wanted to lay that backdrop first before we start talking about um, other concepts of time that I wanted to cover today. So, the first concept of time that I wanted to talk about is the concept of mortgage time. This is not my concept. I read a lot, and if something's good, I borrow it and I share it with you. His name, oh my goodness, I'm not coming up with the name. Um, Bill. His first name is Bill. I forgot. I'll put it in the comments after this. But anyway, he talks about the principle of mortgage time. And he uses the analogy. You may have heard it before. I don't know if it's his or it might be someone else's. You have a rail car, right? And you can, if you're on a track, you can carry whatever cargo you want to carry in those. And if you fill them up with, you know, he used hay as one of his examples, right? If you fill up 168 cars, your rail cars with hay, and you sell it on the other end, like you have this much profit. But if you fill up your rail cars with gold, right? How much is gold worth? And of course, that fluctuates up and down. But when you're, how much is the gold worth versus the hay? And 168 hours a week is what we have. And so he really talks about what are we filling up our cart with, or our rail cars with, right? And when we're looking at how we're filling up our cars, what we have to know is some of the tickets or some of the rail cars are already filled. They're already filled. So this is the principle of mortgage time that he talks about. Sorry, his name is Bob Harrison. Bob Harrison. Um, so Bob talks about how are we filling up those cars, and some of the cars are already filled. So principle of mortgage time, right? How much time do you have to spend on meal prep? Like it's already mortgaged, right? How much time do you spend going to the grocery store? So that's kind of negotiable, but how much time do you spend working, right? And now it's a whole different space. Like if you're working from home, you're kind of more in control of your time. Um, but one of my clients, she was working from home and she also has a business. We're trying to figure out how we can structure the time where this X amount of time is mortgaged or set aside for work, right? And so I think I need to kind of go back a bit. Mortgage time, it's time that's already spent, right? Like you buy a house, you have a mortgage, you have mortgage payments for the next 30 years. And this is money that's already coming out of your account. This is already, so think of it this way, it's time that's already been spoken for. Before you even sit down for the week and you plan out your week, this time is already spoken for. Sleep time, work time, eating time, even pooping time. Like there's time already scheduled out for you. And there's not too much white space left, right? If you lay out all the commute times, even though we're not really commuting as much anymore, but you commute every day to work. For me, I used to commute without traffic, 30 minutes, with traffic, an hour and 30 minutes. So, and I had to put all of the time out in my calendar and block off sections of my calendar when I was coaching and going to work, because I would send out my calendar link to my clients and they would have to book their times, but I had already had mortgage time on my calendar for work, for school, for being a mom, all the things. Like I had to really look at this piece of mortgage time. It's like, well, if my kids are on the soccer field from 4:30 to 5:30, why would I have that time available in my scheduling calendar if I'm not going to be available for coaching? Right? So this is where the principle of mortgage time comes into play. You have to look at your 168 hours a week. You gotta mark down your sleep, you gotta mark down your work, and then just really think about, oh my gosh, time with kids, time with spouse, time in communities that you're part of, like church. So I realized I was spending 8 hours on Sunday. Factor in the getting ready, blah, blah, blah. All of the time, it's not just the time that you spend here. It's commute time, it's prep time, it's all of that time that's spent doing this one thing. So church for me, 8 hours, is because I was teaching Sunday school, and then I would have to attend service, and then we had outreach in the afternoon where we were feeding the kids that we were busing in from the underprivileged neighborhoods. I don't know what the politically correct version is supposed to be, but like the lower income locations, we were doing outreach and we were feeding them before they went back. Because right now that the kids are out of school, I've been seeing these commercials. Kids are not eating regularly. And here where I live in California, they're still providing meals to children who need it. You drive up, you pick up your breakfast, you pick up your lunch every day, and you know anyway, meals are a thing for people who rely on school lunches or church or whatever to feed them. And so I didn't realize that this was a mortgage time issue. And then, right, I'm there at church for 8 hours. And then when I got home from church, the guy I was seeing at the time, I was a single parent. The guy I was seeing, dating, whatever, he went to a different church and he couldn't understand why I was like, you spent 8 hours at church today. Did you realize that? Because when I would get home, I was so tired. And then I had to go work another 12 hours come Monday. So he's like, you don't have enough rest time in your schedule because of all of this mortgage time that I already had mapped out. So I want you to look at your calendar and just do this quick exercise. You can use Google Calendar, right, where you can drag and drop and like just set like appointments on your calendar and just see sleep time. So I have my sleep time, I have my lunch, I have my dinner. I don't have breakfast scheduled because I kind of just drink a smoothie for breakfast anyway. But I have my Bible time scheduled. I have it all mapped out so that I know what I'm doing in the different parts of my day, and what time I have available for clients to book time with me, or time I'm going to be spending with clients or doing things for clients. Just because I'm not coaching doesn't mean I'm not working behind the scenes, right? So all of these things are mapped out on my calendar. So anyway, mortgage time. So I kind of alluded to the second piece that I wanted to talk about, which is relationships. If you look at your calendar, it's all about relationships. So the time wheel that I've been talking about, and I don't have a copy readily available, but in the time quadrant, it's all about your relationships, your home life, and your social life, right? Because when we are out, and like if you look at your mortgage time now, where are you spending the majority of time? It's with people. I mean, yes, sleep is mortgage time and eating is mortgage time, but we usually eat with people, right? We eat with our family. And if you are really struggling with the weight of not having enough time, I know, right? This is a quarantine time, so we probably have a lot more time than we used to have. But I know for a lot of entrepreneurs or people who are already working from home, nothing has changed for us, right? We still have Zoom calls, we still have these virtual meetings that we attend, and like nothing has changed for me except like now my networking events are now online. So I don't have to drive. So that's more time I do have back. Because, right, driving in LA, like LA traffic, but Hawaii traffic was the same. So, um, but yeah, my schedule has not really loosened up. In fact, it's gotten a lot more. There's a lot more demands on my time because now everybody is home. They're like, hey, you're home, I'm home. Let's hop on a call. Let's hop on Zoom. Let's just meet for coffee. Let's do that. And in the beginning, I was like, yeah, sure. But now, it's like looking at my time blocks. It's like, not really spending as much time as I need to working on things for my business. A lot of the time that like I just felt like I didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough time to do my own stuff. I didn't have time to work on client stuff. I'm just like, oh, there's so much time being spent. And I had to look at it. There's a lot of mortgage time that I spend in because I have a coach. I have a lot of different coaches, and there's time that I'm spending in these different communities. So that would go under the category of social life. And also in the category of social life would be friends that are they're just wanting to connect, right? Like, oh, let's hang out, let's do this, let's do that. And, virtually, right? Let's just hop on a call, let's have coffee. And then, when you're with friends during the day, it's like, huh, could I be taking on more clients? Could I be doing more productive work, profitable work? Or like, is this really the best use of my time? Like drinking coffee and having like really long chats. And so I was like, huh, boundaries, you know? And so a lot of times leaders, well, what makes a good leader is someone who has stronger boundaries, the ability to say no, or like yes, no, like very decisive, right? A leader who is wishy-washy, kind of like, I'm not sure, let me get back to you. Like, just even hearing that from a leader, how does that make you feel, right? It doesn't make you feel like that leader actually knows what they're doing when they're vacillating on on their decisions. And a lot of decisions for leaders are based around time, right? um, Budget. So budget is a money issue, but budget is also, um, are we going to hire contractors? Like who's going to do the work, right? So it's how much. It's always this time versus money thing, right? And on the time wheel, T and M are direct opposites. It's always time versus money, and that's why I said in my title is time is the one thing that leaders will put their money on to get back, right? So budgeting, it's all about getting your time back. Like, how many people are we going to hire for this next project? Or what tools, what materials are we going to use, and what vendors are we going to use? Um, if I'm talking about refinery language, what vendors are we going to use and how quick is the turnaround? Like, are we going to pay more for the quick turnaround or even ordering stuff online? Are we going to pay more for expedited shipping, right? Because projects, they're time and money, like project managers, right? It's all about time and money. Those are the two resources that most project managers are managing, right? And then on the flip side of the wheel is intention and energy. So intention is the planning stage, the creativity, um, the downloads that you get, the inspiration that you get for the idea of the project, right? And the energy is the energy that you need to actually execute the project. So anyway, so you're managing all of these four quadrants at once, but on paper, what is your, you know, the main boss want to see? Time and money constraints. That's all that they want to see when they're looking at that. And then the I and the E piece is more in the execution phase. It's like, how do we motivate? How do we keep the team motivated to stay on task and on target? And in the oil industry, is without injury or without destruction on the environment, right? So if you are a leader that is very um, stressed out, what is the one thing you're probably stressed out about? It's time. It's like, oh my God, I don't have time to do all this stuff. Like, or I spent too much time, with clients or with people, right? Time is all about people and relationships. But it's also a relationship with self, right? I'm spending too much time with all these people, this relationship, and I don't have enough time for myself. I'm not in a good relationship with myself because I don't have the time to invest in me and replenish me. And right, I talked about, like, your brain is your number one asset. That's what I talked about on my latest blog. Is your mind as a leader is your number one asset. Your ability to make decisions is your number one asset, right? So anyway, this is like all of that time versus money, and time really is the number one resource, and it's finite. So that's the other piece that I wanted to talk about. If you look at your bank account now, especially during quarantine, it's like, my money is finite, but technically you can always make more money, right? you can raise your prices, you can get another job that gives you more money, well, you know, considering. But you can always make more money, or you can have a side hustle. Like my dad did. My dad worked 7 days a week with me growing up. He was always trying to generate money. And that was just his thing. But then he never had enough time. And there was always this thing about scheduling, like family activities around his work schedule and also mine, right? I was working 70 hours a week at one point, and just having time to schedule the stuff that need to get done is a whole nother story. Um, but yeah, leaders who don't set good boundaries, it's all about that, and being decisive and how we want to spend our time, and are we honoring our commitments in those times. Um, and so the last thing I wanted to talk about is you get back more of your time when you stay in your zone of genius, right? When you're staying in your zone of genius, this is where this is your money move, staying in your zone of genius. And the things that we're not good at, we really should delegate. So, case in point, in corporate, I didn't work for him, but he was like, um, I guess like a department head. And so I was a project manager that reported to him, and I saw that, like writing emails not his strong suit, just, just typing in general, not his strong suit. Type like this. And then if you're watching, sorry, I'm using you as an example, but right, typing like this versus like I typing as fast as people talk is one of my strong suits. Like so I was like, just dictate it to me because dude, I want to go home. Like, can we just go home? Right? So it's like here, because there was a report that had to be generated every afternoon because we had day and night shifts. So instructions for the night shift to carry out if there was anything. So that would be really a 24-hour operations. Things that night shift could take care of would free up space for the day shift to continue, you know, at you know be more ahead for this project, right? And so that was one of the things I said, you know what, let me just type it out, like whatever emails you have to send out at the end of the day. I was like, dude, like it's painful to watch you type. So I was like, tapped on the shoulders, like, can you move real quick? Just tell me what you want to say and I'll type it out. And that worked pretty well for a while. Even so there's another project that when I was in the training department, right? We had a guy who's very good at delegating. Pretty much, he delegated everything to us, and it was like we would borrow people from operations to teach classes, right? Because one is what wasn't his area of expertise, right? There's many units in the refinery, so we would have to have field trainers that was their area of expertise to come in and teach those classes. Same thing if you have a business, right? If you are a business owner and you own a restaurant, you may or may not be the best chef. So you should probably hire a chef that will create your deliverables, right? Even for me, I am just doing operation support for one of my clients, just kind of working in their back end, um, looking at their system, seeing where we can tighten some things up, where we can automate, and just get more time back on her plate. And right, I'm not I'm not actually doing any of the work. She has a virtual assistant. She has other people on her team that are actually producing deliverables. My deliverable for that team is to just organize the tasks and map things out, project management, map things out, make sure we're on schedule and on target. And that's, but it was of value for her to hire me to map it all out because it was not, I mean, she's okay, but just scaling and automating is part of my zone of genius. So therefore, she hired me. Or even like a web designer, right? If you go to my website now on your mobile device, one of my friends pointed out to me, she's like, hey, there's some like formatting issues on your website. I'm like, I know. I know it and it's there. And does it bother me? No, not really. I mean, the information is there. The information is great. You can read the words on my website. And honestly, if something like that bothers you, just one, it's not my zone of genius. And am I willing to put forth the money to hire someone to fix it on my behalf? Not right now. I'm not willing to put forth the money to get that time back in order to fix it. See what I'm saying? Because honestly, don't really point a lot of people to my website. I prefer to just um, meet with people face to face, hop on social media, whatever. That's just easier for me. I mean, time saving. Facebook formats everything for you. All I had to do was hit go live, and here I am. And all this technology in the background is um, creating all this lovely video for you. And so, yeah. So, getting back to leadership and time management, the more you delegate, right, the tighter your ship is going to be. And it's right. If you are a leader who feels stressed out, look at your schedule, right? There's probably things on there. Oh, here's another thing. This is a bonus tip. I didn't write it down. So if you're looking at your schedule and you're like, or if a third party was to look at your schedule and see, I don't understand why you're stressed out. Like there's nothing on your calendar, but it's all up here, right? And so Mel Robbins, I'm gonna pull in her story here. So she did a video of her husband. So her husband had his to-do list, and it was all these things that were on her husband's mind. And she came in and she was like, the funny thing is, honey, everything on your list, I don't even think about. And so going back to my website, it's like, me and the formatting and like how my picture, like she said, like how the formatting is, you can't really see my face on the website. And I was like, doesn't really bother me. It's not on my list. Or it technically is on my list, but not on my prioritized list. It's like, okay, make a note of it, move on. It's not hurting my ability to get clients at the moment, so whatever. And so it's not a high priority for me to actually operate my business. Does that make sense? Okay, so just to recap, right, time is the number one resource that leaders are or should be willing to pay for, right? Anything that will get more of your time back so you can operate in your zone of genius should be a priority. Zone of genius, again, should be the priority. Anything outside of your zone of genius, like my boss, right? That was outside of his zone of genius, typing stuff. And, just let me do it. Let me do it for you. So that was that. Number 2 is relationships is the main issue behind time and time management. Because if you look at mortgage time as well, if you're talking about social life, right? So the three aspects of time is relationships, home life, and social life, right? Home life is friends, family, not just your home life, but kind of like your inner circle, right? Who are you most connected with? And if you have a coaching business, right, that would be your clients. And then the last one would be social life is like community. What communities are you socializing in? Whether it's church, business groups, networking groups, right? All of that, those three areas are what take up your time, and these you can track it, and this is what is mortgage time. Anything that you've committed to, like say you committed to a meeting, it's already spent, right? Just because you haven't, we'll use a budget as an analogy, right? Like Dave Ramsey says, every dollar has to be accounted for or spoken for, or whatever the phrase is. You tell each dollar what you want it to do. Same thing with your calendar. That's why mortgaged, right, is a money term, but it's time that's already spent, even if it's in the future. So today is what, the 19th? So today is the 19th, but you don't have, like, say your rent or mortgage is due on the 1st, right? That money is already spent, or it's already mortgaged. It's already set to go out. So just because it's not spent yet doesn't mean it's not technically spent, or money that's going to be spent. So you have to look at your time and your appointments on your calendar, especially appointments you set with yourself, and that's what is the principle of mortgage time, are appointments on your calendar, including appointments with yourself for self-care. And I'm not talking about foo-foo self-care. I'm talking about eating, sleeping, bathing, just even laundry, laundry, going shopping to replenish stuff in your household. That's all stuff that has to be done, whether it's scheduled or not scheduled. It's time that is already spent because it just needs to be done, right? And so if you guys have any questions, or if you want to get your hands on the time wheel, let me know. Drop me a comment, and I'll DM you when it's ready. So all of that to say, be careful or aware of where you are spending the bulk of your time. As you're going through this week, just be cognizant of where you're spending your time. And once you look at, it's kind of like a budget, right? When you don't know where your money is going, you're like, why do I just not have any money in the bank, right? It's what I was teaching my kids when they're growing up. I have one kid who's very good with budgeting and one kid who is not. And it's like, as soon as money comes in, it's already gone. And it's like, well, what are you buying? Like, oh, I went to the mall. I went to the grocery store, um, and all of that. So, yeah, just look at where you're spending your time and mortgage time. So let me know if you actually do go through your calendar and look at your mortgage time. Send me a DM or send me a picture of your calendar. As you can see, I'm excited. I geek out on this stuff. And so once you plot it all out, you're like, holy smokes, there's no time left for me. No wonder I feel stressed out. I'd love to chat with you. We'll go over your calendar and we can see where some of your mortgage time can be repurposed, or just like kind of like cleaning out your closet. Cleaning out your closet. Sometimes you just need a friend to help you go through your stuff because they're not emotionally attached. It's like, why do you have this shirt? Like, it's like, and then someone very objectively can look at your time. It's like, why are you spending time on the phone to say like, with this dude, do you have any intention of like dating him? Do you have any intention of taking it further? No. So why are you wasting your time texting this fool if you don't want to take the relationship further? So yeah, if you need help even just piecing together your mortgage time, mapping it all out on your calendar, and helping you find white space on the calendar so that you're not super stressed out, comment below or DM me and we'll figure it out. So lovely talking to all of you, and I'll see you soon. So bye.